Good morning.
Morning.
And I hit the record button before we ended the three of us's debate as to which reading we were going to have today.
Well, I'm going to leave you in bated breath because I'm going to read, Chris.
So David will read, and we got no idea what we're going to talk about. Bit like
The nativity.
Can I just ask, is that anything unusual, Chris?
No.
Can I just
No.
get rid of your bar, which says I'm being recorded? Hang on, because I can't see your two lovely faces. There we are. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
And
Right.
I've done so much prepreparation that whatever reading you choose, I'm well prepared and I've done all my research.
Years of preparation. Yeah.
Well, dear viewer, the debate was about the fact that this Sunday, being the Sunday next before Advent, before Lent, which is always a great title, isn't it? Sunday next before Lent. Probably called Quinquagesima or Septuagesima or something like that in the old language. However, I'm going to read a bit from the Old Testament. And then Callie's going to tell us all about the New Testament because she's very clever like that. and we'll just leave Chris to flounder around in his usual manner. So there we are. Exodus 24, verse 12 onwards. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and wait there, and I will give you the tablets of stone with the law and the commandments which I've written for their instruction." So Moses set out with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up into the mountains of God. To the elders he had said, "Wait here for us until we come to you again, for Aaron and Hur are with you. Whoever has a dispute may go to them." Then Moses went up on the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, he called Moses out of the cloud. Now, the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain in the sight of the people of Israel. Moses entered the cloud and went up on the mountain. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. At that point, dear viewer, I could burst into song, but I'll spare you that.
Go on.
Another week, Chris, another week.
Well, my first thought, as you read that, was all about the cloud covering the mountain. And the cloud, the rain cloud that we seem to be, actually it's not raining at the moment, but we seem to be under almost permanently at the moment. And the cloud, I guess, being all about the mystery of God and all about the fact that, we can't fully understand God and God's way of working. It's all a mystery.
Don't you think that's an absolutely great thing that we don't understand the mystery of God?
Absolutely.
I think the day that anybody claims they know the mystery of God, the end of the world must be nigh.
And actually, I know we haven't read the gospel reading. You did say I'd got to start talking about the New Testament.
You can talk about the gospel reading.
Well, the gospel reading is, of course, the story of the Transfiguration and how Peter is trying to, capture the essence of what's happened. Freeze that moment in time and build the booths, build those shrines, enshrine all of this, and actually, God will not be contained.
Absolutely, spot on. Do you know something? I've read that reading from Exodus hundreds of times, must be hundreds of times in my life, and it's never struck me before that he took Joshua, his assistant, with him. And I think you said a similar thing last week, Chris. There was something in the reading that you'd never, you'd read it many times, and it had never struck out at you like that before.
And so there's always something that jumps out. It's I love that lecture I went to that sometimes said the book, we often treat the Bible as a book of something that we read and learn from. But how many times does the Bible turn into a mirror? You read it and it reflects you back to you, and it reflects something relevant back to what you want to say. And that's, I think, when those verses stick out, is what's happening. But yeah, you talk about, and then they all get lost in the crowd, and Moses just goes on to the last bit. And I did go and check my little history of Exodus. Of course, this is the start of Moses going up to get the Ten Commandments.
Yep.
And the details of the Ark of the Covenant that has to be made lasts about 3 chapters.
It does.
And I found it interesting. The bit that jumped out at me was Aaron and Hur. And whoever has a dispute may go to them. And of course, while the focus, quite rightly, and we must focus too on Moses going up the mountain and the Ten Commandments. Meanwhile, we know what's happening down in the valley with Aaron and golden calves and whatever else is going on. So it's quite interesting. That struck me. And then also that sense of, okay, right, whatever's going on down with Aaron and Hur elsewhere, the focus is on God and on what is happening up the mountain with Moses and God.
I mean, as we say regularly, it's no coincidence that the people who put together the lectionary readings have used that reading from Exodus and also the epistle reading from 2 Peter, because they all link into a kind of seeing God or recognizing God in strange ways and in dark places and light places. And Chris and I have spoken on this on Rev Chat before, as did Joe and I before that. And it's so easy to pick out bits of it that fascinate you. I mean, Joe always thinks I have a downer on Peter because I think he's stupid that he wants to build 3 booths on the top of a hill. And then Chris reminds us of his visit to the Holy Land, and the most beautiful of all the temples anywhere, or churches anywhere, is the Church of the Transfiguration on the mountain, don't you, Chris? And we all pick on those bits, but as you say, something always jumps out to us, and that's trying to unveil, the mystery and the majesty and the awesomeness of God. It'll go on, won't it?
Oh, do tell us about the Church of the Transfiguration. I've never been to the Holy Land, so I've not been to that beautiful church.
Well, bear in mind the weather we've had the last month. We went up to the top of Mount Hermon, the Church of the Transfiguration, which is about, I think that the particular church there is about 150 years old, but there's been a building there since about 300 BC. So wow. Peter's comment of "let us build a house for you," build the 3 tents, is still there 2,000 years later. So you walk in and you've got this, you've got this fantastic ceiling in blue with all the angels hosting, pointing you up towards God. And then there's 2 chapels, one for Moses and one for Elijah. Elijah's got at the altar with all the meat on it, praying for the fire, and the fire starting to engage it, and then Moses with the 10 Commandments on it. So that's still there. And of course, right next door to it is a gift shop. So this Sunday, I've got 2 green stoles. I shall get my other green stole. I actually bought in that gift shop.
Oh, lovely!
So I shall be using that green stole this Sunday. But of course, you're on top of a mountain. The views go on for miles and miles and miles.
True.
Except the day that I was there, where the view went on for 5 yards.
Oh no! What a shame.
Well, then
arranged. Yeah, up in the clouds.
Yeah, quite.
They'd arranged it especially for you, Chris. And I remember the day we went, because you get transported so far, don't you? We did in minibuses. Then you have to get out and walk so far up the mountain yourself. And we were lucky. We were lucky when we went. It was quite a hot day and sunny, and we could see that beautiful view over. Oh, breathtaking. And as you say, you step into that church. It blows your mind when you see the beauty of that ceiling, and then realise there are the 2 booths, the chapels next to it. So perhaps perhaps Joey's right. Perhaps I have got a downer on Peter, but he's so stupid at other times as well, wasn't he? So perhaps I'll give my own back.
So, what do you think about shrines then? What do you think about shrines and building tabernacles and how important it is to do that? And
I think
or not?
I think I probably changed my mind over the years, because I was always brought up there that total idol worship and a distraction, but actually they're tools to remind you of encounters with God, and as long as we treat them as a tool to help, I think they're actually very, very helpful. Going back to our little reading today, and I did skip on just to check all the context of where we are, just to prove that I do work really, really hard and do lots and lots of research.
Conscious of popular belief, Chris, but carry on here.
Yeah. We've got Aaron here who stayed down to look after the people and be their guide and lead them. If you script through the next few chapters, it details how you make the Ark of the Covenant all coated in gold, and then how the poles are, and then the tabernacle that has to go over it. And then it details the priestly vestments for Aaron. And then when Moses gets down the hill, Aaron's led the people into making the golden calf and leading a rebel riot of hedonism and burning the sacrifice and stuff completely against God. But Aaron then doesn't necessarily get kicked out. So there's a story there of God's faithfulness.
And God's faithfulness. I was interested reading the tablets of stone and remembering, how there's one lot of tablets of stone that are made, and then they're broken, aren't they? And then there's another set. And it's funny, isn't it, how we say, things are set in stone. The Ten Commandments are set in stone. Well, it's the Ten Commandments that matter rather than the physical tablets, if you see what I mean. There's quite a lot there about idolatry and God as opposed to idolatry.
So do you think it's healthy for human beings that the tablets with the Ten Commandments on them that were made by God were broken, and the tablets that Moses came down the hill with were ones that, when Moses went back up the hill, his punishment for breaking them was he had to carve out the new one?
I think we have to hold as sacred what is God and comes from God. Absolutely, we have to hold that as sacred. But it goes back to the same point you were making about the living word. Really, it's not. I have a Bible on my desk. Of course, that's a precious book, but it isn't the book itself. It's the word of God that's precious, if you see what I mean.
And I think it's important as well that over centuries, and if you go into many, many churches, although some have taken them down, I'm sure, you find still, don't you, in churches, often by the altar, the two sets of the Ten Commandments, on boards representing the tablets that were brought down. And of course, all of the Ten Commandments, and I use them during Lent and Advent as part, instead of the Gloria, usually in the modern form, in the modern language, and in the traditional form in Book of Common Prayer services. But as we remind ourselves of those, we then come on to the fact that Jesus, of course, said, whilst all those ten commandments are very important, and if you keep them, you're perfect, so to speak, the real importance is that you love God first. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, etc. But that you also love your neighbour as yourself. Because if you keep the other 10, then these two just fall into place, don't they?
Well, I put it the other way round.
Yeah, I often do as well.
If you keep the 2 commandments that Jesus gave us, then the 10 commandments fall into that. Because don't forget, we do the first commandment is this, and the second commandment is this. The next phrase in the Book of Common Prayer is, on these 2 commandments hang the law and the prophets. Yeah. So really, as a principle, any laws we make, we go back to, does it support love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength?
Love your neighbour as yourself.
Yes. Does it support that? And I think
but it's the word of God that's important, isn't it? The bit about on these two commandments hang, of course, are man-made to to get you to understand that in keeping these two, then the others are all falling into place. Because I mean, let's be honest. If you go through the commandments, you love your parents, don't fight, don't kill, don't steal, etc., etc. And if you're doing that, then you're obeying God's law, and in obeying God's law, you're showing love and trust in Him, aren't you? In many ways.
I love the consistency of God through it all. Same God in the 10 Commandments and same God in Jesus.
Yeah.
And the 2 Commandments, same God.
Mm. It is. It is.
Yeah.
I like as well that the appearance of the glory of the Lord that is important.
Yes.
That was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain, in the sight of all the people of Israel. I'm sure there must be somewhere they were hidden away, but there we are. All the people of Israel could see this great fire.
The fire in the cloud. I mean, that's there. God's there in the cloud and in the fire, all through the whole of Exodus.
You've got other fires, haven't you? Burning bushes, pillars of fire. You name
exactly.
it. Very important. But I think that the as you said at the beginning, when we were debating which reading to read, it also leads on to the importance that next Wednesday is the beginning of Lent, the 40 days and 40 nights of Jesus in the wilderness, leading up to his crucifixion. And of course, if you follow it all through, as I hope people will take it important and follow it through those 40 days and the time of Passion and the time of Holy Week. If you follow it all through, then you don't miss the glory of the resurrection. Sometimes I think that if we only join it at a certain point, then we miss a lot of the importance of what leads us up to that glorious Easter day.
And that Lenten journey, how appropriate that we've got Exodus here, because that is the Lenten journey, the 40 years in the wilderness. That's and the 40 days of Jesus in the wilderness. Moses being on the mountain for 40 days.
Yeah. But in reality, when you think about it, these times of measurement, 40 this, 40 that's 7 times 70, and all the rest of it, in God's eyes, they are but just a twinkling, aren't they?
But the fact that the numbers match, they're significant. They're meant to. So what that's saying is, don't necessarily you get out some great historical yardstick and measure, exactly what it looks like. It's more that we're supposed to make that connection. We're supposed to connect all these things up when we, in our understanding of what's going on.
It's the constancy. It's the constancy of God, isn't it? That throughout all of these times, He's still there. He's still with us. He's still journeying alongside all that's going on. So, Chris, what have you got lined up for your 40 days in the wilderness this year?
I'm joining you for your Lent course, aren't I?
We're doing a deanery kind of Lent course. Anybody who we can mop up, really.
What's you doing for your Lent course?
Well, we're using, and I haven't got the book that's in my because we're using the one which the church, nationally are encouraging, which are the daily readings from the Bible Fellowship.
Oh, super!
There is a course alongside it of material you can use for study, and because after last week's discussions, Chris and I and others were saying in the chapter that we're all finding it difficult to find people to lead courses other than ourselves. We thought that if there are people who are at a loss anywhere in the deanery, because we had a lady last year join us from Bridport because we were following the same course as you did, but she couldn't get to your sessions, so she came and joined us, which was lovely, and she was really really encouraging. So we thought we'd kind of run one together, Chris and I, based in Beaminster, but anybody can come along. So if you've got anybody who can't get to your courses,
we're doing this. Oh, you can't see, can you? Oh.
Meeting God in John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah,
There we
okay.
are.
Yeah.
David Ford.
Yeah, I know David. David.
We're doing that, and we're doing it over Zoom, which will be interesting. But we're also going to have some little house groups meeting. So one of our Zoom windows will be, Graham's house group, ad hoc house group.
The importance of the study during Lent is good, and we've got house groups that are running. They're well established house groups, and they will continue. But we try and pick others that perhaps don't join house groups or that at any other time in a Tuesday. I mean, also anybody who wants to can join Joe's Gin Church ladies, because they invite anybody into the Lent course, and they'd be doing the same. So. Yeah, we've
got Lent lunches. We've got ecumenical Lent lunches in Bridport on Fridays, which is really good, going around the churches. And the other thing I'm really excited about, I'm only managing it on 2 Sundays, the 1st and the 15th of March. But we're going to do some Ignatian Take Time reflections with an arty response. 3 artists in our parish who are going to help with that.
Excellent.
And that was you sort of a bring your own lunch thing. So it'll be around lunchtime on those 2 Sundays, and that would be nice because it will balance what we're doing sort of by Zoom with something that is definitely very embodied and getting your hands involved in something, making something. Doing something creative as a creative response to Bible meditation. So I'm looking forward to that. Wish I had more time to do more, but
let me know the date and we'll stick it up on our website for you.
Thank you.
Send me the information and we'll get Harry to stick it up on our website for you.
Lovely. And what have you got planned for Ash Wednesday?
But if you want to, if you're around any of our churches, you'll find services all over. I know that in the Bride Valley, they've got a service at, I think it's 11 o'clock in the morning in Burton Bradstock. We've got 2, because it's being Wednesday, we have midweek communion anyway, so we'll do communion with imposition of ashes, just plain said, in the morning, because that's all we do. And then in the evening, the choir will help us to lead our choral Eucharist, and again, we'll impose ashes on those who want them. Chris, what are you doing?
I got a Simonsbury in Ash Wednesday evening, a service of ashing, which is a gentle, quiet one. I think I don't put hymns in it. It's more of a gentle, it's a thought process. The beginning of Lent. What does that mean? And how do we approach that? So yes, the next Tuesday we've all got the challenge of burning our last year's palm crosses, and how we dry them and burn them and mix them with oil and get them into the right consistency.
No, Chris, I don't have any challenge anymore because I've actually purchased the ashes board. I've done already. after many years of drying them in the oven and then standing outside on the porch burning them because they stink to high heaven. I went down the whatever of buying them already done, prepared for me. A bit like Blue Peter. Here's what I prepared earlier.
Very good. Very good. We've got 2 services, a morning and an evening one in the morning one in Bradpole and the evening one in St Mary's. And then at lunchtime, it's half term, of course. So I'll be in West Bay, just ashing anybody who wants to receive ashes, but not doing a service, just ashing sort of outside St John's.
I remember Mark Rylance, who was Bishop of Shrewsbury, but I knew many years ago when he was just a humble vicar. We used to play cricket with him. And he also became back down to Ashburton, didn't he, Chris?
Yeah.
After he resigned or retired as the bishop. I remember seeing pictures of him in one of the daily papers once, because he was wandering around the streets of Ashburton, ashing people, which I've always fancied doing, but never been bold enough to.
Well, I'm bold enough this year, and Philip Ringer was very much hoping to do that with me, but I think he'll be better off wrapped up in the warm inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he'll definitely be with me in spirit. So that'll embolden me, David. I hope.
And you'll go along and ash him in at some point in the day, will you?
Of course, definitely. Definitely.
Smudge him all over. That's
yes, I'll do that on my way down there. I'll call into him first.
In fact, you could borrow my little paintbrush if your fingers worn out by then. So,
Oh yes, dear viewer, you don't know David's habit of dusting down. There we go. Whenever he comes on Zoom, right at the beginning, before the beginning of our conversation, that's the first sight Chris and I see.
Dear viewer, as we end, just to let you know, that's only because I had a man come from BT, part of my contract apparently, and he had to do a health check on my computers, and I wasn't quite sure what this was, or on the BT equipment, and I wasn't quite sure what it would entail. But out of his big bag of tools, he got a little brush, and he started dusting everything, and that was it. So I thought my computer needs a health check every week, and so to see the beautification of both Chris and Callie, I dust the screen. There we are.
And David, it's worked, David, because your sound has been much better this week than normal.
Yeah, I know. That's because probably people aren't around or haven't linked up yet. Who knows? But dear viewer, thank you very much for listening. And we hope we haven't confused you over the Transfiguration. Do read the words of the 10 Commandments. And if you want to read what I read, it's Exodus 24, 12 to 18. And the gospel passage for the Transfiguration is Matthew 17, verses 1 to 9. Both fantastic passages. And
or you could come to church on Sunday morning and hear them read.
Mm.
And we could see you in person.
You could, Chris. But there we are. All in all, another good week, and we look forward to. Are you around next week? You're not away on your retreat or anything next week, are you, Chris?
It's the week after, I think.
So we will see people at the beginning of Lent next week.
Lovely. Enjoy Pancake Day in the meantime.
Yes.
And then Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, Pancake Day, very important day. In fact, on Sunday evening, if you're really interested, at 6 o'clock in the evening, make your way to the church in Blackdown, which you can't miss because it's got the rocket on top of the spire. It looks like a rocket, the spire, from after the fire in the late 1960s. And they have their annual pancake service.
Mm. So enjoy Shrove Tuesday and then be shriven on Ash Wednesday.
That's a good word, shriven.
Yeah, so the 2 weeks today, I'm not here.
2 weeks today. We will not cope without you, Chris. But there we are.
Unless I find a signal in the Abbey.
I'll just dust you off again before we go. There we are.
Lovely.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye. Farewell.